Good morning, I'm Elisa Z. You're listening to the Sunday edition. The voice you're about to hear is a voice a whole lot of people know. I'm not even going to say from the Wayback Machine because it's not that long ago.
No.
Al Muscovitz, Big Al Muscovito.
Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm really glad you're here. And we're talking about something this morning that is near and dear to many of our hearts, not so much because of our personal involvement, but because of the involvement of our parents, some people's grandparents, the world's greatest generation,
right?
World War II veterans. And Michigan, as always, is great at honoring those who came before them. And I've been in Memorial Park at 13 and Woodward a bajillion times. I've lost count on my fingers and my toes. And it's never a shame on me, occurred to me to wonder, well, why is it called Memorial Park?
Right.
Well, fill me in on some of these things,
It's
please.
mostly been the park where there's art fairs and baseball games and stuff, which is great.
Yes.
But what's happened is, and I'll just give you a Reader's Digest version very quickly of, I had the rare opportunity and privilege of flying with a group called Honor Flight Michigan. And that was, their job was to take World War II veterans on a one-day trip to Washington, D.C. to see their memorial, which is spectacular in Washington, D.C.
You went on that trip?
I went. I was a guardian with my son, and I'm going to be joined in a little bit, as you know, by some of our board members who will talk in even greater detail and correct everything I say wrong, because that's why they're here.
That's why they came.
They're smart to be here for that reason. But what obviously our world, this whole thing is about Michigan, and the Honor Flight Michigan flew the vets on a one-day trip. Well, let's face it, they're getting older. Some of them are quite ill. It's becoming increasingly difficult to do that. And so our group no longer flying those vets there. So the decision was made, how can we keep this at home? How can we get the vets to see that we're doing something in their honor right here in the state of Michigan? And then it became a twofold project. How can we honor the vets that served abroad? And how can we honor the Michigan citizens that fought the good fight here in Michigan, the arsenal of democracy, building the planes, the tanks, and so on and so forth? So fast forward, we are now known. We've transformed from Honor Flight Michigan. We are now the Michigan World War II Legacy Memorial. And that's where 13 Mile in Woodward comes into play. And Royal Oaks Memorial Park and the city of Royal Oak has been gracious enough to put aside a beautiful piece of land in that area. And that's where our very expansive plans have been born. And that's where we're working very hard to move forward on now.
Is your dad a vet?
My dad isn't a vet. The reason I got involved, I'll be honest with you, my military experience is safety patrol boy at Glen Shanos Elementary School.
Somebody had to do that.
Somebody had to do that. But I've just had an affection and a close, just an emotional tie to people who have made that ultimate sacrifice, or and today who continue to support our freedoms and protect us. It's just something I've always been attracted to. And when I got that chance to be on Honor Flight and see it firsthand and see these vets from World War II, it just struck a chord. And I'm board member, and I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Well, as you know, my dad is not a vet either. You asked me the other day.
Right.
He was 4F, although when he went, he's a polio survivor.
Yeah.
He tells me that when he went for his physical, as he was born in 1928, so he went for his physical, 1926, went for his physical, and he was told, okay, yes, you're fine. And he thought, well, boy, oh boy, I have one leg 2.5 inches shorter than the other, and double curvature in my spine, and my Coke bottle thick glasses, which is how he eventually became Specs. And they shuffled him right on through. But that shows how much we needed our young men during World War II. And I don't want to say they were desperate, because then by the time he made it to the next physician, they said, what the heck are you doing here? Go home. And I have his 4F notification. But he would have gone. This is what they grew up with.
Right.
This is what was in the hearts of the men and women of that generation, like no other group that came before us.
And what we want the public, the citizens of Detroit, southeastern Michigan, the entire state of Michigan to know that this is a uniquely World War II Michigan project. This is something that's going to be a destination location. And as a matter of fact, and I'll let our board members discuss that, Debbie Hollis and Russell Levine, who will be joining us in a little bit, describe more of the proclamations that came from the state of Michigan and so on and so forth, because I'll screw that up entirely. But the fact of the matter is that we're getting a lot of attention. We also need a lot of money to get it done.
Of course.
It's reachable, it's obtainable, but we need the word to get out, and we want Michigan citizens to be on board with this, both corporate and grassroots. We're a grassroots organization, and we're just trying to get the job done so that people will never forget for generations to come what the Michigan's unique contribution to World War II was. And let's face it, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, this generation's gone, and
Right.
on so many levels, it's
Right.
sad. So that's why we have to get this job done.
And let's honor them before they're all
Yeah,
gone.
I'm going to throw the website out real quick because I know
Please do.
just to get it in real quick. It is, because I've gotten it wrong several times, but it is Michigan, and then it's the letters WW. So Michigan WW, the number 2, memorial.org. Michigan WW, the number 2, memorial.org. And there are some expansive, incredible, you are not going to, I know, Elisa, you had a chance to see it.
Yes, I did visit
Aren't the plans
website.
beautiful?
Spectacular.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm really excited about
Yeah,
this. I really
yeah.
am. Al, with your permission,
Yes.
we're going to play musical chairs. And we went age before beauty here.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
And we're going to invite in Debbie Hollis, the president of the Michigan World War II
Should we
Legacy
play Hail to
Award.
the Chief?
Yeah. Da-dun-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So enter the executive in chief, Debbie Hollis. Good morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for
How
being
are
with
you?
us. I'm great. It's
Thank
so
you
good
for
to
having
see
us.
Well, I'm glad you made your way over to us this early morning. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
How did you get involved? Were you one of the founding members? Do you have family, veterans? What's your involvement? I know what it is now. You're the boss.
We have many good people on our board.
Head of the troops. Head of the troops.
I was not on from the very beginning. The program started in 2006. I came on board in 2008. I live in Royal Oak and saw the continued coverage in the newspaper about all of the flights and became more and more intrigued. I grew up with a dad who was in the Army during the Korean War. So he's not a World War II veteran, but I always grew up with a dad who was extremely patriotic, always honoring the military. So that was always in the heart and soul of our family.
Of course.
So when I continued to read these articles and became more intrigued, I decided I wanted to become a part of the program, did what Al did, and signed up to become a guardian on one of the flights. It was such an amazing experience. I signed up for more. I wound up going on 5 flights total. And it just secured my spot, wanting to honor these individuals, get to know them. So many of them have become like members of our family.
Of course.
And at that point, once the flights ended a couple of years ago, we did make that decision that this just isn't enough. We feel we have to do something more. So the slogan kind of became, we started by taking them to the memorial. Now we're going to bring the memorial to them. And many of them have said that part of the memorial will be what's called the Walk of Honor, which is a brick walkway where you can purchase inscribed bricks to honor a veteran. And many of the veterans that we flew with have purchased the bricks for themselves. And they've said that the difference to them in their heart and soul between the stunning memorial that they saw in D.C. and the one we're going to build for them here is that this one is personal to them. Their name's going to be there. They get to go to that memorial and look at that brick. And so many of them have commented on the importance of that it is their Michigan memorial, their names will be there, it's their story. So we're so proud to be able to do this for them.
And there are so many stories. And this is something, just like we see with the Holocaust Memorial Center, anytime a group of people is honored with an actual brick and mortar memorial, it brings their legacy to life.
That's right.
It really does. Because right now, for my second batch of kids, and they're little, they're in 6th and 8th grades, this is all just something they read about in a book. This is something that is bandied about when they're forced to take an American history class and a world history class.
Right. We want to make it a little more hands-on for them.
Exactly.
We want to make it an educational place. We want teachers to take field trips there with the kids. We will eventually have an online curriculum that will teach about every element of the memorial, everything that the home front did, the war front, the citizens from Michigan, and all of the contributions. We want that through the years to be that educational point so that their legacy is learned throughout the years, because what they did for us will always be relevant.
Are you interviewing veterans to be able to use their stories in that interactive component and
Yeah,
online?
we've actually been doing that over the years, and we
Good.
will continue to do so. And many of them are happy to contribute their stories. Some of them, their stories are so personal and difficult that they choose not to, and we absolutely respect that
Of
and the
course.
experiences that they had to deal with. But we will collect as many stories as we can. They'll be part of that program for sure.
They have to be. They really,
They have
really
to be.
have
That's
to be.
why we're doing this.
It's a beautiful thing.
And we also want to collect the Homefront stories. We want to talk to Homefront workers, the Rosie the Riveters,
Yes.
and anything like that, of any contributions from the Homefront. That'll also be a part of it. You know, a lot of the media that's out there over the years, the war movies, the books, so much of it does tackle the war front. So we're taking on the home front also, because without the home front, the war front wouldn't have succeeded.
And Detroit's contribution to that home front, which led to more success on the
Detroit's
war front.
and Michigan as a whole, everything throughout the state of Michigan, there's so much that we contributed that, frankly, most people aren't aware of because it's never been put out there.
What's the biggest surprise you've found out in your journeys over the last several years?
I would say one of the biggest surprises is how many POW camps were here in Michigan.
Here in Michigan?
Right here in Michigan, POW camps, and people are very unaware of that.
Until 3 seconds ago, I was unaware of that.
Right, and so that's why we're happy to educate about things like that.
I learned so much by the people who come in here. Thank you.
The initial one was Fort Custer in Battle Creek, and then we wound up with many throughout the state and the Upper Peninsula.
I had no idea.
So very, very interesting information like that will become a part of the memorial. Part of what you'll see when you walk the memorial grounds will be a large map of Michigan stamped into the ground, 40 feet by 35 feet. And there will be stamped into that map many of those markings, where those POW camps were, where some of the main manufacturing points took place, and just a whole way to educate all sorts of different things about Michigan. So you can take that walking tour and learn as you go.
What's the ultimate goal for beginning this memorial, for beginning the actual shovel into the ground?
Well,
yesterday, right?
Yeah, yesterday. The goal is to do it as soon as possible. And that really, we can't give a date. It's all about the fundraising process.
Okay.
We are ready to go from the standpoint of our design plans. We've been working with Mosif Gordon Architects out of Royal Oak for over a year, designing and refining those plans. And they're perfectly where we want them to be right now. They've done a terrific job for us. And Larry Helbert is our project sculptor, who's been working on his designs for months now. So we have those down pat. We're ready to go with those elements. It's really about the fundraising at this point. So as soon as we get what we need, we'll be digging ground.
So to get more information, let's give that website a couple more times, and then we're going to pause for a moment, and we'll do another changing of the guards here in the chairs.
The website is www.michigan2memorial.org.
www.michigan2memorial.org.
Correct.
That is indelibly etched in my brain. Your name I have to look at written in front of me, but the website now I have down pat.
Good.
Before we pause, is there anything, Debbie, that you'd like to add?
No, I just hope that everybody finds a reason to support this project. There are so many reasons, from the history perspective, from the educational perspective, from the human, emotional aspect. There are so many reasons to appreciate what we're trying to do for these men and women and for our state, to recognize it, teach about it, and hope that everybody understands those contributions. So I hope that in their heart and soul, everybody can recognize the importance of this. And there is one other thing I want to say, and it's a little bit back to the fundraising. What's important for the people to know is there are no tax dollars going into this project. It's all private fundraising, it's corporate sponsorship, no tax dollars are involved.
That is very important for people to know. Very important
Yeah.
point. Good morning. I'm Elisa Z. You're still listening. Thank you very much to the Sunday edition. And we're still talking about the Michigan World War II Legacy Memorial. I love this project, and I'm so excited to see when the first shovel is going to go into the ground. Please invite me, you guys. By the way, I'm asking you right now, let me know when that happens, because I'll be there cheering on, and I'm even going to ask to put a shovel into the ground. Russell Levine, the vice president of the organization, is with us now. Good morning, Russell.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm terrific. I'm so glad you guys are here.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, but it's my honor. It's not just my pleasure. It's my honor to be able to do this. Talk to me about your involvement with the project. How did you come to this group, or did they come to you?
Well, I kind of came to them. I like to tell people that my first brush with World War II was being ordered around the backyard by my father, who was a veteran, having us do various tasks as a member of a mock patrol.
A mock patrol. Pick up that dog
Exactly.
poop now.
That's right. And then that obviously had a big influence on me. And I, like Debbie, live in the area. I live in Huntington Woods, and I saw some of the advertisement for Honor Flight Michigan in their flying days, and got involved from that perspective. Was also a chaperone on one of the flights, and became associated with the organization in that way, and later joined the board.
We talked a lot in the first 15 minutes or so about what is coming up and the need for fundraising. Tell me what your personal passion is in moving this project forward.
Well, we like to say that there are a number of reasons why we're doing the memorial. I mean, first and foremost, it's to honor the folks who quite literally saved the world. I mean, the world would be a very different place if those folks didn't step up and do what they did.
Right, that's not an overstatement. I don't think anybody will argue that.
No, it's literally true. So we want to do that. We want to provide an educational component for future generations. We want to provide a place for reflection. And we want to provide a place where people can come and kind of celebrate their freedoms. We don't want it to be a marble kind of graveyard or mausoleum or something. We want it to be a place where some people can go and come and enjoy the freedom that was secured by the folks who came before us.
Talk a little bit, if you will, for those who don't realize how deeply immersed this state was in World War II. If you can talk a little bit about some of the contributions, the concrete contributions our citizens made.
Sure. I mean, a lot of people are familiar with Willow Run. That was one of the most famous plants where they made B-24s, bombers. At the peak of their production, they were turning out one bomber an hour. It's
an hour?
An hour. It was phenomenal. We were basically harnessing the industrial might of the United States.
And this was decades ago. For someone right now might go, oh, well, one an hour might not be so difficult. We're talking very different assembly technology than we have now as well. One bomber an hour.
And that's part of the legacy that we're celebrating at the memorial. I think we mentioned that we had a sculptor involved. The sculptures are a key part of the memorial. The idea of the memorial is we're going to tell the who, what, and where of the Michigan story. The who part of the story we're going to depict with some statues. We're going to have a series of vignettes. We'll have three themes: land, air, and sea. And in each of these three scenes, we'll have a home front component and a war front component. So, for example, for the air scene, we're going to highlight Rosie the Riveter that was spoken about earlier, who worked at Willow Run building B-24s. So we'll have a scene where we have on one side a part of an aircraft being built by Rosie the Riveter, and on the other side, the military flyers who were getting ready to use that plane to go over Europe or wherever they were going. So we'll also have one for land, and we'll also have one for the sea using similar types of themes. So that's what. And then that's who. and then,
right.
and then
Rosie the Riveter would not be pleased to be
no,
called
not
a
at all. And then, but the what component is we're going to have a series of pillars kind of in the background of the memorial, and there'll be physical pillars, but there'll be metaphoric pillars as well, because they're going to represent what we did to support the war effort. So there'll be one pillar that represents sacrifice, so representing people who were killed or wounded in service. There'll be another pillar that'll represent service. So these are people that served either in the military or quasi-military or on the home front. What did you do to serve? There'll be another component that'll represent industry. And that's, again, thinking about Michigan and the auto companies and the Jordan Iron Works and all over the state where there were military contributions. There were bombardiers would use the bomb sites that were made at what was the Burroughs plant in Plymouth, Michigan. It's just all over the state. So that's the commercial aspect. And then there's going to be labor, because obviously there was a huge labor component, both in the factories and also in the fields. We had a large component of agricultural products that were delivered from Michigan for the war effort, transported along the Great Lakes. And there'll be two other pillars. One is commitment. And that's the pillar of commitment, what people did to change their everyday lives, things like collecting tin, victory gardens, and so forth. And the last pillar is change. And that's to indicate how we had to change to fight the war and how the war changed us. So everything from the Tuskegee Airmen, and whose training base was in Michigan. I mean, before there was Martin Luther King, before there was Rosa Parks, before there was Jackie Robinson, there were the Tuskegee Airmen. So it's a very important pillar of change that brought forth. The GI Bill, whole generation of people like my father changed their lives, changed the country through all the education that was provided through that. So that's our last pillar. And then the last component that Debbie highlighted was where, and that's the map. And so we'll have this interactive walkable map of Michigan highlighting various points of interest in the state.
As I hear you talk, I'm just reminded how, just as with everything when we study history, this will give this generation and future generations even greater appreciation of what we're embarked upon right now as well. Because most kids, even now, know somebody who was in the Gulf War. They know somebody who's fought in Afghanistan. They know somebody or have a family member affiliated. looking at our history, as always, we study history to help us embrace the present.
That's exactly true. And it's amazing what we find is every time we would go to talk to our architect, we got to our builder, everybody says, yeah, my dad was in World War II, or oh, my uncle was in World War II, and my dad was in World War II. And that's one thing we realized, and that's why we're building the memorial. It was so pervasive. And that's another point is the difference between sometimes what's going on today and what went on during World War II is the total immersion of society in terms of how everybody was affected, rationing, everything changed, and that's a little bit different, and that's one of the lessons that we're trying to teach.
All right, I asked Debbie, I'll ask you, what's the biggest surprise? What did you stumble upon that made you go, oh, really?
Well, there are a couple of interesting facts about Michigan. Debbie mentioned one. Another one that most people don't realize that Michigan was actually the subject of a firebomb sent by Japan via a weather balloon, landed in Farmington. It's
Really?
Yeah, so that's an interesting fact.
So if I dig down in my backyard, I might find some remnants.
You might find some weather balloon remnants, exactly. Also, one of our statues highlights the role that children played. The material that was used for life jackets ended up being controlled by the Japanese. It's called K-POC. And what we found instead was there was a material that could be derived from the inside of a milkweed pod. So kids would go out and pick milkweed pods, collect them, and there was a saying that said 2 bags save 1 life. If you collected 2 bags full of milkweed pods, they'd get sent up to a processing plant up in Petoskey and get transformed into life jackets that would be used by our military men and women who served on the oceans and seas.
I wish we had 3 hours. This stuff is just so fascinating.
It's really interesting, yeah.
It really is. Before we close, is there any stone we've left unturned?
Well, there are a couple things. Speaking of stones, Debbie mentioned our pavers, and the pavers are available for purchase on our website. If people want to do that, you can still do that, become a contributor.
At www.michigan2memorial.org.
That's exactly right. And the other thing I'd just like to mention is we've been officially recognized by the state, by the Senate, by the legislature, and by Governor Snyder for our role in bringing this memorial to the state of Michigan to recognize the state's contributions both on the war front and the home front.
I so appreciate all that the 3 of you and your entire crews are doing. Thank you, Russell Levine, Debbie Hollis, Al Muskovitz, for coming in to talk about the Michigan World War II Legacy Memorial. Again, I would urge you all to go to www.michigan2memorial.org. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm Elisa Z. You're listening to the Sunday Edition.